今マイクが参ります。西南学院大学大学院に所属しております玉井恵里沙と申します。2つ質問がありまして、皆さんに質問なんですけど、1つ目が自分の本当に思っている意見と逆の場合、そういった場合はどういう意見をするのかと、もう1つはどちらの方が肯定側否定側どちらの方がやりやすいのかという意見があるのかを。
すみません、ちょっと質問訳しますか、もう一回お願いします。
1つ目が自分の本当に思っている意見と逆の場合どういう考えを述べるのかと、もう1つは肯定側否定側どちらの方がやりやすいっていうのがあるのかどうかを尋ねたいです。
I think these questions are directed to the debaters. The first question is, if you are put in a position where you have to say something which is against your belief, what do you do? And the second question is, which is easier, to be on the proposition side or on the opposition side?
So, can I just start by responding to that first question? My mum lives in Bulgaria, I live in England. I love Skype. I love social media. You just have to pretend. I like to think of it sometimes as acting in the role of somebody who does believe what I'm pretending to believe. But often you don't need to do that. Just sort of think to yourself, how can I make a logical argument that someone else with a different viewpoint might believe in? Does someone else want to take the second one?
So I think with regards to whether it's being easier on a particular team, I don't think it makes much of a difference. Maybe if the topic is very one-sided, so if you had, I don't know, if the motion was like, this house believes Trump is good for the world, I personally would much rather be on the opposition. But generally we try in debates, when picking the motion, a lot of time and effort goes into picking what debate you're on. Because if you have a very one-sided debate, it might be very easy for one team and very hard for the other. It's not very good for people watching. And after all that stuff, we don't generally just close ourselves in a tiny room and argue with each other. The point of debating is for other people to listen and understand and engage. So you want a motion or a topic that's quite deep, so there's lots to say, but also that is balanced. And about the what if you don't believe it? Then I think, as Sarah says, you just have to think but everything in debating, if you don't believe it, there are probably reasons why someone might believe it. It's not like it was completely outlandish to like or dislike social media. So you just put yourselves in their shoes and try and think, why might someone dislike this? And then try and go from there. But it can be difficult, but that's part of the fun of debating, is that you don't get to pick which side you're arguing for.
ありがとうございます。では次の質問はいかがでしょうか。前の方お願いいたします。
せっかくなので英語で、I'll speak in English. Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming all the way to Japan, and that was my first time to watch the debate, and I was very impressed. And I did not know what it was like, so it was a good time for me. And then my question is that if you are a debater, and I assume that you have to be aggressive in certain ways, and then so my question is that how can you control your feelings? Because you don't look like you're so aggressive on the stage, am I right? So how can you really control yourselves?
Firstly, thank you very much for your kind words. When you debate, you're trying to think about what would be persuasive to someone. And if anyone's talking to me and they're obviously angry, and they're loud and they're rude, I find that incredibly unpersuasive, and I shut off and stop listening. So I think while you obviously have the clarity of your convictions and you care a lot for the side that you're representing, it's important to always be calm, because someone would want to hear a calm argument and not an angry argument. So always have that in your mind.
I also think there's a tendency, if you try and you'll see some people be very, very aggressive in debating, and it can be quite unpersuasive if you're watching it. But also I think if you tend to just get angry at what they're saying and try and dismiss or belittle it, you often fall into the trap of not really understanding the point of their argument. And so your response is probably not very effective to someone watching, because you just think, well, you know, that's not what they said. You just made a funny joke or dismissed or belittled what they said. You can listen to their argument and try and construct a proper logical response. You just said it was rubbish. So I think, and it can be difficult, and there are definitely times when I've done it, when particularly often when it's something that you do care a lot about, and you care a lot about a particular thing, and you hear the other side saying something that you think is just wrong or outlandish, there's always that tendency to just tell them that they're wrong. But if you don't try and engage with it properly, you won't be persuasive and you won't win the debate. So it is difficult, but you have to learn to do it if you want to debate well, I think.
ありがとうございます。
I've been taking the question to anybody who has some relationship with the parliamentary debate. That's on the interpretation of the subject, you see. I think listening to today's debate, antisocial, the definition of the antisocial seems to be extremely important, you see. So on this kind of debate, do you leave it on how to interpret that to the debater themselves, or do you try to find out the common definition so that the debates become more constructive? Is it completely left for the common sense how to understand this antisocial or these kinds of elements? So that might be not be the question to the debaters, but might be the question to the organizers. Anybody who is that. I'm very curious about it, because if I were to be one of the debaters, I might start by definitions. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Normally, in British parliamentary debating, it is the debaters during the debate that talk about the definition. You can't talk at any point previous to that except for people in our own team. And the Prime Minister, the first speaker, has a certain fiat in defining that debate. But if that definition is seen to be unreasonable or unfair, that is certainly something for opposition to challenge. I think a key part of any debate is really debating for the space or the frame around that debate, around which that debate takes place. So, yeah, I think it's something that often takes place within the debate itself, and certainly develops as the debate goes on.
But also, when there's something which would be particularly broad, often the motion or the topic for debate comes with an information slide which specifies what a certain word means. For instance, we might debate that in times of economic hardship, we should have more lax regulation of the economy to stimulate it. And in that, you might have an info slide to say that by more lax regulation, we mean it being easier to hire and fire people, and easier to maybe lower taxes and less checks on various pieces of business activity. So that even though the debaters can still say exactly what they'll do, they're given a range which they can talk about.
So I think the key message is really, it's very much up to the person setting the motion. If they have a very specific idea about what they want the debate to look like, they might be specifying more thoroughly in the motion itself. But once the motion is decided, it's up to the debaters, and usually it's always the proposition team, particularly the first proposition, who will set up what they think the motion should be, and unless it's really unreasonable, generally the opposition team just accept it, because otherwise you have a whole debate about what the definition of the word antisocial means, and that's not interesting or useful for anyone. So the definition is just kind of setting the bounds, the playing field that the debate is going to take place on, and it's a kind of joint effort between how much room for manoeuvre the motion setter will give the debaters, and then what the debaters themselves decide they want to do. So it is a bit of both, but primarily, I guess, the debaters.
Also, just to mention that that's true of British parliamentary formats, which is the format that we mainly debate in, but there are different formats around the world where the judges will be told, this is what we expect the motion to be about, the debaters will show up in the room, debate what they think it's about, and if they're wrong, then in some formats, it's too bad for them, and the judges get to decide. But that's how we do things in British parliamentary.
久保田会長、とてもいい質問ありがとうございます。では最後もう一つだけいっぱい手が上がっているのですが、ではこちらの前の。
My name is Minoru Hiroda. I'm currently director for the Fukuoka Japan Buddhist Society. I'm not asking you any questions, but I'd like to say a few words for my very appreciation, gratitude for having been allowed to attend this wonderful session. And I was quite impressed with every single presenters, debaters, well organized and very intellectual opinions and whatsoever. Anyway, so thankful. I could learn so much about the sort of the quintessence and it's just a remnant of the debate, the meaning of the debate. So thank you very much for this evening.
ありがとうございます。それでは時間も超えてしまいましたので、本日はお忙しいところお越しいただきありがとうございます。本日はそれこそディベートと硬いものではありますけれども、その中でユーモアもあったと思います。どのようにコミュニケーションをするといいのかという少しでもヒントになればと思っております。ご指摘のところ申し訳ございません。アンケートがございます。簡単にチェックのところだけでもぜひ